Okay, I'm Mojisola Oluyemi, the Registrar, 4th Substantive Registrar of Redeemers University. Well, at least for you to be a student in Redeemers University, there is a process, and that starts with admission. And for the admission process, registry is key. Being the registrar, in fact, the first thing I'll say must be put in place is meritocracy. That admission process is based on merit. It's not an issue of I have to introduce this or this is coming, but on merit, academic performance, your performance through the screening exercise. Now, coming in as some fresh student, we have a directorate, the DSS, the Directorate of Student Service and Support, really in charge of student services. But notwithstanding, even though it's a directorate under the Office of the Vice Chancellor, as a registrar and registry, we can still work together. I mean, good team spirit, just for the excellence of students' path in Redeemers University. And how we can do that, at least to ensure good student service, is when we see to good academic records of the students. At least they are happy that it's not that after writing examinations, one score is missing, there is an error. I mean, that's just towards excellence. Then at graduation, we just want to ensure that these graduates, they are market worthy, they can compete globally. Now looking at registry. Registry is the custodian of registers. When you talk of registers, in fact, right in my office, in the office of the registrar, that is where you have all the MOUs that have been signed with the university and outsiders, the license of the university. I'm talking of original copies of documents. So registry is the custodian of registers, rules, and regulations. So when you're talking of rules and regulations, I mean, for the entire staff and students, it emanates from registry. And so, as a registrar, one needs to keep open administration. Open administration in the sense that you are not hiding anything. You can move to the registry and you get the necessary information. And when you disseminate information as it ought to be, and you're open, there is tendency, in fact, great tendency to be trust, because they know that you are open. The administration is open, there is trust. Where there is trust, people tend to be motivated. And when people are motivated and work together, definitely it will bear excellence. In terms of technology, in fact, gradually now we're moving to e-meetings, having e-meetings. Now we're having e-senate. For council, part of it E. When we come to student records, in fact, it's totally E. And I know that Academic Affairs Division of Registry is on top of this. And it facilitates retrieval of records. It encourages good storage of records. And that is what registry is, at least to see to technology drive of the university and its existing administrative processes. For any leader, in fact, I'll advise that the first core value to embrace is that of trustworthiness. If you are trustworthy, it gives you self-empowerment. Self-empowerment because you are now in a position to emphasize on principles of integrity, of honesty, of dedication, commitment, being passionate about your job. So as registrar, that is what I'm doing with my staff. At least with that, because you are trustworthy, there is trust. And because you're trustworthy, people look at you and you're exemplary. And they are self-motivated. That is all you want to achieve. And so with this, it's easier to unleash their potentials. The potentials, now talking of registering, I'm talking about the career administrators. We call ourselves career administrators, to unleash their potential so that the university can move forward. What has to be put in place in terms of rules and regulations, that all this has to be documented. When it is documented, it has to be shared. Like you say, it's just like you say you're having a policy in place, a policy that not be known to people. Definitely it cannot work. So these rules and regulations for staff, we have it in conditions of service for both junior and senior staff. We have the statutes, or we call it laws guiding the university. For students, we have the student's handbook. Even staff also, we have staff handbooks. And all this, if now well disseminated to both staff and students, it is now for them to follow the principles, to follow the rules and regulations. And if there is no room to compromise on standards, definitely there will be, what will I put it now? Will I say peace? The university will move forward, let me put it that way. At least all these rules must be disseminated as appropriate and made available to those who they are meant for. Risk management could be in the area of finance. Risk management could be in the area of infrastructure. Risk management could be in the area of structural defects. And now there is a committee that is called the Audit and Risk Management of Council. It's a subcommittee of council. In fact, most of the members are external members. We only have one council representative on that committee, then the registrar being the secretary to the committee. Also, we have our internal auditor in attendance on the committee. So now looking at the reports generated in terms of risk management to audit, in fact, that gives it that when you talk of risk, you're mainly talking of infrastructural risk, that in the area of the infrastructure of the university, like, okay, now this is a building. Do we have fire extinguishers? This is the statement of account of the university. What has been put in place to ensure that investment of the university fund is done as appropriate? Now, under risk management, under finance also, you want to know that, yes, we have grants coming into the university through our research, and the researchers, I would say our teaching staff. These grants, how are they managed? Are they managed in line with the donors? So I'll say that is part of risk. Now, in area of administration, I won't want to call it risk. I want to say the challenges that could be posed from time to time. And now you've asked about conflict management. When it comes to conflict management, there are regulations guiding conflict. And of recent, even though painful, you now see students, even in their final year, about to graduate, being expelled because they fought over an issue, because they couldn't resolve the conflict. When there is conflict, in fact, the leader involved in such should be able to acknowledge the fact that he is the leader. The issue is what has caused the conflict. Is it an issue of trust? Is it an issue around misconception? Is it because you are trying to enforce some things which are not? So I'll just put it this way, that for conflict resolution or for conflict management, the leader should know how to handle it. Because when you are saying you are the leader and at all instances you want the person who is junior to you or your subordinate to be the one to be stepped down, you might not achieve what you tend to achieve, because as the leader, you want to be the one that will drive this vision of the organization. So in conflict management, just be ensure that you do the right thing, not doing things right, but the right thing. Is what you're doing right? What is your strategy? Are you trying to enforce your own vision? Like I told someone that there can only be one vision which all stakeholders should run with. As a leader, you want to ensure, just to avert conflict, that are the right people placed on the right seat. And well, when you have the right people, I believe that the issue of conflict will be placed to minimum. So that's how I put it, that a leader should recognize the fact that he is the leader in this issue of conflict, and he has to be the one that should now set out to do all he could to reach out to reduce that conflict or to resolve it totally if possible. You know, for each university, there is a culture. That's why you call it the university culture. Then there's a term you call the university tradition that will run across all universities. Let's say in Nigeria, the Nigerian university will have its tradition, but an individual university will have its culture. Registry is the custodian of culture. And that is why, let me give you a good example. During procession, maybe procession for convocation, procession for inaugural lecture, procession for any lecture, part of the tradition is that while procession is going, you don't move out, you don't come in. Even the academic regalia is not put on in the open, and you don't derobe in the open. So that is what the university will do in terms of culture, in terms of development, to establish the culture of the university and also to ensure that the tradition of the university is maintained. There is a document, the recent one is the Kefi Declaration of 2012. And so declared Kefi. Kefi is the name of a town in Nigeria because it was a meeting of Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian University that now came up with things on how the university should be run. Now, all this tradition, like, let me give another example, like convocation. You want to ensure that in convocation, the necessary colors or the stipulated, I won't say necessary, the stipulated colors of hoods and gowns are worn. Now you want to ensure that someone who does not have a PhD does not wear the red gown. You want to ensure that a bachelor degree holder do not wear the green gown, because it's tradition according to colors. Green is meant for postgraduate, red for PhD holders. And registry now being the custodian of this, that is why you have administrative officers now ensuring that things are done properly. So it's for registry to maintain, to ensure that the tradition, the culture of the university is put in place as appropriate. In fact, something came to my mind now, which by the time I say you, we will all laugh. You know that one of the culture, I talk of tradition and culture. One of the culture of Redeemers University is that maybe female students are not allowed to wear piles of trousers. That's a culture. A culture of Redeemers University is that lectures won't start until after 9 a.m. on the first Monday of every month because of divine encounter, because the church, the proprietor, expects that we all observe divine encounter. That's a culture. If you go to the University of Ibadan at 8 a.m. on Monday, lecture would start. 8 a.m. on the first Monday of the month. But in Redeemers University, 8 a.m. staff and students were expected to be at the divine encounter. That's a culture. A culture of the university now that we imbibe is that, like today, being the first Tuesday of every month, there is what we call the covenant hour at 4 p.m. That's a culture. A culture of the university is probably for ladies not to paint their face, you know. That is culture. It's peculiar to Redeemers University. And you are now asking that how will this culture now transcend into graduates and alumni? A good one is now on the issue of, I'll say, biblical standards. Because if you say our culture, while as a student, is a female student won't wear trousers, definitely as a graduate, you are free to wear anything you want. As a graduate, working class, you won't say because that was the culture where you were in school that you won't go to work 8 o'clock on every first Monday, of the month. But a culture that will go with you all along is that biblical standards that you have taught now to be God-fearing. And that's one of the vision of the proprietors, now to prepare graduates, to produce graduates who will be God-fearing, graduates who will show examples of the Lord Jesus. So that's how that this culture, the one that you can do while you're a student, should be done. And the ones you will carry along with you, even as alumni members, should be there. And in fact, I would just say the summary of that is the biblical standards that you are being taught here to go along with you in the future, so that all the days of your life, all alumni will still be God-fearing, they will be exemplary, they will project the name of the Lord Jesus and win souls for Christ. Well, the initiatives for now, it's been in the area of entrepreneurship. And now the university has a center, Redeemers University Center for Entrepreneurial Development Studies, RUNSID. That's part of the initiative, at least, that after whatever you learned here, whatever vocation that you have chosen, that even after graduation, you might decide to continue if you won't want to work for anybody. So that's part of the initiatives. Then this career talk, even, well, career talk, at least there you listen, especially in your final year, you listen to those who have been there. Now they want to take you through their own experience and expect you to learn. So that's part of the initiative as students, now to graduates and to alumni, part of the initiative at the university. And aside that, in the area of students' engagement, in fact, that's very key. Because when students are engaged while there are students, in fact, the memory lingers. And if they are successful, if they succeed in doing that, even after the university, they want to look back and give back to the university. Now, in the area of students' engagement, let's look at now students being appointed on committees. I know of library committee, I know of students welfare board. There you listen to deliberations at meetings. That can inculcate administrative excellence in a student. I know, yes, I've been there before. I've seen how meetings have been held. Now you want to go into administration, you have learned. Student engagement also allowing students. I know that some students are allowed to have stands. They do have stands during your Redeemers University Students Association Week. Students are allowed to display their talents. It's still part of students' engagement. And I know that in what you're doing, even though this is an alumni office, but at least in the Redeemers University FM studio, students are allowed. In fact, at times when I listen to any program going on and I see I know that, oh, this is a student being trained. It's not really a staff of the FM studio. So that's part of students' engagement. In fact, I'll say this, I'm so happy that is at least now we have alumni representative. No, I won't say alumni representative. I'll say an alumnus as a member of the governing council. Even though right now from the constitution or composition of the council we have two, but the second person is on council on the platform of RCCG representative. The constitution of council member is just to have one, and we have your president there. So that is a good development, and it all started about 3 years ago. It's a good development. Another way is now to encourage alumni to join the staff, members of staff of the university, to encourage alumni. But like I said earlier, that when we come to issue of bringing in staff, let it be on the platform of meritocracy. When we find alumni members doing well and they are interested in joining the workforce, in fact, I want to champion that our alumni should be allowed to join us. We have them in the teaching, as academic staff. In fact, we have them with us now as high as senior lecturers. At least about 2 of them now are senior lecturers. We have lecturer 1, we have alumni. And the university also is doing fine in the area of engaging the overall best. You know, for the first set, I'm saying the pioneer graduates. In fact, for each program, I'm not saying department, each program, the best overall student in each program was engaged and even sponsored overseas for master's degree for them to return. But I'm not blaming anyone. You find I'll say most of them now have left the system. Now it's been reduced to the overall best student for automatic employment. And it is now left for such graduates to still want to stay or probably to even accept the offer. Some have declined that offer in the past. And I can't mention name if I want to, that were offered and said, no, I'm not. Now look at the great Sean Peters. Even then, as the overall, she did not accept the offer, you know. Even as the overall said, as a pioneer, she did not. So it now depends on what you want, your career, your ambition in life. So that's it, that the university now bringing in the alumni to be part of the community. And I'll say if you've been part of an organization or you have been part of this university as a student, and you have that privilege or you desire to come back and serve, in fact, you can always be made a point of reference because you've been here as a student, now as a staff. I will so much encourage, because such person now can be relied on to assist, to mentor the students. At least from his experience, he can share with them. And that is why at times on some of these committees, the university would like to place alumni members to be the committee, part of the committee members, so that they will hear the position of the university and be able to relay to the students. In fact, I will advise any graduates looking at the trend in the country now not to despise the days of small beginning. You know, even as graduates, you find some graduates even earning 30,000, some earning 40,000, and if you're lucky enough to get, let's say, a job with ExxonMobil, it's not what I heard, but it's what I know reliable. You can even earn up to 1-point-something million per month. And here is a colleague of yours earning 30,000, depending on the organization. But irrespective of where you find yourself, what you're doing, my advice is don't be idle. And whatever you are still doing now, you don't despise that days of small beginning. And I want to advise that you don't start comparing yourself with your colleague. The Bible says comparing themselves with themselves is not wise, because that could lead to something else. Then I want to advise that as much as possible, just stay focused, doing the will of God. And when God will open and look unto you, just like he looked on Isaac in Genesis 26, you know, Isaac did what was pleasing to God, he sowed, and the Lord increased him. The Lord increased him to the extent that even nations, envied him. And you reading, in fact, I love that Genesis, that story of Isaac, that, okay, if Isaac has done something, did something that was pleasing to God, why would God allow him now? Why would God allow people to strive with him? When the Philistines had to send him out, and he was going from here to Gerar, people were still striving with him, but he was not discouraged until he found a place, he dug a well where there was no more strife. And he said, "This is my Rehoboth." And Rehoboth means the Lord has made the space, he has made this land spacious. So likewise, graduates, that will be my advice, that whatever you do, please don't be discouraged. Even when you get to a point where you feel this is a stumbling block, make effort, surmount it, and go ahead. And one day, the Lord will make the space or the land spacious for you where you can call your Rehoboth. I will advise them to be God-fearing, to always remember the son or the daughter of whom they are. And always remember Redeemer's University, to be great ambassador of Redeemer's University.